Good morning. Today is March 30th, 2023. Time is 9 o'clock. I am Kevin Day, Chair of the Custer County Board of Commissioners, and I will call this meeting to order. And if you would join me for the pledge, please.
No, would you be so kind?
Pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you join me for the invocation, please. Heavenly Father, we come before you this morning, Lord, and as we come together to do this work, we just ask that you would be with us here today. We ask for your guidance. We ask that you would guard us and guide us, direct this meeting and work your will. We just pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
And if you have cell phones, please silence them at this time. You would, please. Kelly, could we get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Day,
Present.
Commissioner Canada,
Here.
Commissioner Flower,
Present.
and Clerk to the Board, Kelly Camper, present.
All right, thank you. And audience introductions. We'll start with you, Lisa, and just work our way back.
Lisa Bivens, Finance and Human Resources.
Paul Sage, citizen. James Gilbert. Bob Centroff.
Joni Wilcox.
Stephen Wilcox.
And Barker. Oh, Jennifer Cree, admin to the board.
Bill Christie, Office of Emergency Management.
Rick Maxwell, taxpayer.
Dale Clayville, taxpayer.
Krista Klingbeil.
All right, thank you. And I think we might have a couple of people online as well. So, but if anybody goes to speak later, if you would identify yourself for the record, I'd appreciate that. Thank you. Amendments to the agenda. I would like to move item C, the consideration of the sealed bids for equipment, to be moved to the bottom of the agenda under consideration of the letter of support for the fire protection district.
Would you consider adding D to that as well? We just do them all.
Yes, we could move C and D to the bottom of the agenda.
I would second that.
And the reason is, so everybody knows.
Well, if we have 48 bids to open for the vehicle auction, then I think that would take some time to do, so that is my reasoning behind that. Any other questions or discussion on that? Those in favor of moving items C and D to the bottom of the agenda signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. We have minutes from October 25th, October 31st of 2022, and March 8th and March 15th of 2023 to approve.
I'll move that we approve because the minute machine was working overtime. To approve October 25th, October 31st, March 8th, and March 15th minutes.
Second. Any discussion on that?
They're catching up.
Getting there.
A little bit. All right, those in favor of approving the minutes from October 25th and October 30th of 2022 and March 8th and March 15th of 2023 signify by saying aye.
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 Can I make a quick statement about minutes?
Yes.
I get a lot of calls from people wondering where the minutes are. How come what happened last meeting? We can't put them out for public consumption until we know what they are, you know, whether there's mistakes or not, or whether they're approved. You don't want something that's not approved now. So that's why. Also, all boards are required to have minutes too by the statutes. And so we're trying to clean all that up and get those loaded. And I think Jennifer's been working very hard with Vernon and I guess Jordan too. Is he involved in the minute thing, or is it just Vernon? But anyway, we're going to try to catch up because some of these boards haven't had something posted since 2004. Somebody told me. I don't know if that's true or not, but it probably is. So anyway, we're making headway.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner items. Commissioner Kanda.
A couple quick things. I mentioned this already. I wasn't aware of what we were wanting to talk about on the county manager. So not knowing that, I asked our team to come in, and so we can talk about the option that we've talked about before is rather than a county manager, how do we propose a new way of doing it? And so I got the team in here, except we have one in Mexico, which is going to be hard to get him here in time. But he did send in some stuff for us earlier, and he is the leader of the Tiger team we've got. That would be Michael Foster. So given that, when we get there, we'll go around and we'll have the guys talk about what we're doing and how they're doing it and what we've got going. Also, I mentioned save the date 12/13 April. That was Hickenlooper. Senator Hickenlooper wants to have a meeting. It's going to be the 12th. And so I've asked the Board of Health to move their meeting, and he was able to do that. We're going to have briefings on the Board of Health from several people at CDPHE on several items. So it's going to be a good meeting. So he will be able to do that. And the Hickenlooper meeting is with 3 counties: Teller County, Fremont County, and us. He only wants the leadership. If this is about not lobbying for money, it's not stumping on them or anything. It's to see what our issues are in the county that he needs to be aware of or not, or just wants to understand what we're doing. And he wants the commissioners, the 2 town mayors, and that's 5. And so they're looking for 5 from each county. And they're going to bring and invite, I think, maybe some forest people or OEM, maybe. I'm not sure what their plan is. He said they're still mulling over that. They'll be at Pathfinder Park in Fremont County, Florence, and that'll be on the 12th at 3 o'clock is what they're shooting for, maybe 3:30. Because he's got a couple other, he's doing another meeting before that. And I think he's ending up in Pueblo and then coming up here. So it may be 3:30 or later.
So when did that health meeting get moved to?
I've talked to Dr. Brown. He's going to nail it down. He's running down options for them, the people that are briefing windows. So as soon as he gets that, I'll send a note down.
Okay, thank you.
It'd probably be the day after or 2 days later.
So you're canceling the Board of Health meeting.
He reschedules. And I think, let's see.
That was not plugged in, is it?
I thought we had a good attorney workshop, and then we'll see. Stay tuned on that. I know you all participate in that too. Make more comments, and that's all I have for now.
Commissioner Farr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You know you have to talk.
Wanted to give you an update on the status of the sidewalk project, grant project. The RFP is completed. I inserted the DBE statement, which is assurance of disability business enterprises equity. I got a couple of statements from CDOT about that, and so I included those in the RFP. Sent the final draft to the financial office review, and waiting on word from them. So because this project will not include federal money, we don't have to deal with that. So that's a big hurdle for us to get over. I did move the Veteran Service Office vehicle into the sheriff's yard. I think it will be much more secure there for the time being. Talked to Sheriff Smith about that. He was fine. He didn't have any issues with that. So if you notice that vehicle missing, it's because it's over there. And then we can talk about this later on, but I'll bring it up real quick. When we get to the consideration of the sealed bids for the courtroom, I'm going to propose that we add to that scope of work, painting the judges' chambers, the lobby for the courts, and the court security office. That was not included in the RFP by design. But subsequently, the day after I submitted those or that RFP for publication, the courts found out that they were not going to be allowed to paint those offices themselves. So that is the impetus behind that. So we can discuss that later on. I would also ask commissioners to consider today, when we get to that item business C, that we at least consider opening those sealed bids by the amount only, and not consider the names of those sealed bids when we open them. I have a question about the integrity of that whole process. So I think in all fairness, that would be my request there.
How would you propose to do that? Say it again.
That we would
Numbers on
consider the bids just by the amount.
So,
Because in all honesty, I don't think it's a big concern to us who submits a bid. I think really we should look at all of our bids moving forward. And I would say the same for the painting bid, that we consider that based on the amount of the bid and not necessarily on who bid that, but we can have that conversation.
maybe number the envelopes so we can keep track.
Well,
of the numbers.
I'm assuming Kelly's gonna read those bids. Is that process today or not?
It doesn't matter. I
Okay.
can read them.
You know, like $100. B
Well, yeah,
300, something. I guess we can say B1.
Well, or the description, yeah, it's their compressor. Here was the bid for it. And then but again, just to give you a little heads
Okay.
up that I would request that when we get to it, whether we do it or not, is another thing. I also wanted to publicly put the message out that the weed board, Custer County Weed Board, is seeking additional members. We've had some turnover in that board. And so I will be working with Jennifer to put out a press release on that, make a formal request.
Will you describe the weed board for people who don't know?
Yeah, that was gonna be part of my spiel today. That this weed board serves Custer County, and it's involved really with overseeing the spraying of noxious weeds, primarily on county road rights of way. But state statute also allows, if funds are available and resources available, that we can work with private landowners to spray noxious weeds as well. So the bylaws of that board state that they have a membership of 10 people, and they're certainly below that now. So wanted to throw that out. Those are 1-year terms, renewable indefinitely.
They all staggered.
No,
only stagger them 1 year,
yeah,
right?
They're 1-year
Can't be.
terms, so.
All right.
And then also moving forward with the grant with the U.S. Forest Service on their noxious weed mitigation program as part of that weed board $15,000 grant. I have submitted all of the paperwork for that the grant's been submitted. We had some follow-up edits and some revisions to that grant, and I've made those submitted. I got confirmation yesterday that that we will be receiving word that we can move forward and start expending those dollars. The majority of those dollars are in the grant budget are designed for matching grants for private landowners. So I think out of the 15,000, I think 13 of that was earmarked. So we'll have some breathing room when it comes to helping the local citizens spray for noxious weeds. And then also I received the go-ahead notification to expend the dollars for the grant that I wrote to offset some of the cost for the cardboard storage bin at the recycle center. So I placed the order for the trusses for that building, and the total cost of that project budgeted at $13,500, and we had that mini grant approved for $5,000. That will actually cover about 95% of the cost of the trusses. So that project's moving forward. And then also, I just want to give you a quick update on the status of the office at the recycle center. That construction will start when the weather becomes a little more favorable, but we're ready to move forward with that. The foundation, I'll backfill that, and then we'll get a plumbing inspection, electrical inspection. They'll come in and do the rough end plumbing for the bathroom. And then we'll get full cord and be ready to start framing that. So our goal is to get that done, that office done and functional by midsummer. So moving forward there. Recycle center is functioning, I think, at a high level. I'm very pleased with what's going on out there. So Tim Harmon and Steve Wilkerson are just doing an amazing job of managing that. So we're getting a lot of good response from the community, primarily in the area of that cardboard recycling. My gosh, they bailed 2 bales of cardboard yesterday, which is a huge amount of cardboard compressed into those 2 bales. So, and as you know, we did send a semi-load of cardboard to Oklahoma last week. And so I continue to be enthusiastic about that whole thing because I see what it's doing about diverting material out of that landfill.
Ton of profit on it.
And we'll make some money, yeah. It's cardboard, unfortunately, is not a big money item. The market for cardboard is in the basement right now, but it's better than putting in that landfill. So our trench, the existing trench, is just about, I shouldn't say just about full, it'll be full in another 45 days. And if you're not aware, we do have the scraper out there and they're excavating that second trench east of the recycle building now as we speak, actually. So hopefully we'll get that done and ready to go before we finish with, I think it's H that we're in now, trench H. But I've been watching that and it's scary how fast that is filling. See if, and then I've been trying to decide how to go about presenting this to the commission. Kind of wanted to be a surprise for certain people, but I don't think that's going to be possible if we're going to be transparent. So I'm going to request that we put on an agenda, an upcoming agenda, an item concerning naming a roadway in honor of Clint Smith. And so I've done the research on that, and I would be bringing that to the commissioners at you guys' pleasure whenever you think we can squeeze that in on an agenda. Shouldn't be a big, long, drawn-out agenda item, but where we're at on the 4th and the 5th, but I'd like to put that on the agenda. one of those meetings, if that's all right with you. Then.
Have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, we can consider, we have to figure out what, how, when and where.
How about the 5th?
You have an executive session that day. That's the only thing other than monthly reports.
I don't anticipate taking more than 10 minutes, so,
We'll go ahead and put it on there.
okay.
On the
thank you.
5th?
Yeah.
But that's all I have. So.
All right, thank you, sir. I was going to, I'll get to it here in just a second. I think we all went and attended the meeting with Forest Service over at the firehouse on the AOP. And then I did meet with Attainable Housing Board. There's an item on the agenda today that came out of that meeting. There is some turnover on that board as well. And still working with making my face seen in Florence. And every time after the meeting, I'll have one or two of them come up to me, tell me that we're still there, but the timing just isn't quite right yet to bring the ambulance service to Wetmore. So I'm assured that it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. And then the CCI conference, I was going to bring that up here today, is May 30th, 31st, and June 1st. We do have a BOCC meeting scheduled on the 30th. My initial thoughts were to try to move that meeting, our meeting. But if we did that, we'd have to move it to the prior week.
Or is it
the
gonna be
previous
held?
week?
Where's it?
CCI, it's in Vail.
That'd be hard to get there after details.
Yeah. If we went to move it, we'd end up having to move it back to the 25th. And I don't know what that would look like for yours and Braden's office.
I mean, it'd be up to you. I mean, we typically would be cutting off the expenses side. Everyone would have to get their things in a little earlier, I'm assuming, without looking at a calendar, but it's typically a week before the last day of the month that we would require all AP to be turned in. At that time, we could just send you what we had in that report. Payroll, payroll's done a week before typically. So we could make it happen.
Can't do that.
Yeah, and then I just
Yeah,
had.
right.
Yeah.
What's wrong?
Oh, yeah.
So a thought just popped into my head, and I don't know, this may be what you were thinking. The payroll is an informational only item. The AP and the out of cycle is what we have to vote on. Is there anything that says we can't vote on them at the first of the month meetings rather than the month end meeting?
Yeah, and you got two of those mixed up. We do vote on AP, we do not vote on payrolls.
Yeah, we do AP and out of cycle. I misspoke.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
So what I was gonna throw out for consideration was maybe, do we have anything else on that agenda right now that you're aware of, Jennifer? I mean, it's over a month out, so I wouldn't expect that we would, but what about a special meeting on the 26th, which is a Friday, but then that's not great either because we have to have a clerk.
The 29th is Monday.
Oh, that's right.
So, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. We wouldn't have to load that agenda up. We could just deal with that. I would think if we did it after the last business day of the month, then all of our vendors are gonna be getting paid later.
That's true, because those checks aren't set until we approve that, correct?
That's right.
You would have to back the deadline up for all of your paperwork to be in if we did it on the 25th or the 26th.
Well, and that would only be right, and if we had it on the 25th or the 26th, really, it's only 2 days. So,
So instead of the 15th, it would be back to the 12th or the 11th.
Well, the same is true the other way, though. If you mail them out on the 2nd of June,
right,
it's just 2 days difference.
right,
And then that's not gonna kill a vendor.
no, it really.
Mail goes out here 3 days to Denver and back up.
Right,
And that, if I may, Mr. Chair, to that end, what if the only agenda items on the meeting were approving AP and out of cycle? We could include that meeting in 30 minutes, which would give us almost 4 hours. to make
Fine, too.
decisions.
That'll work also. Either one.
So I would support that, maybe just limiting that agenda to as
I think that
few
would be-
items as we could possibly do.
That would give us enough time to,
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
I would be in agreement with that.
First session starts at 1:30. So I think that might be the better play. Then we don't disrupt the whole flow of deadlines and we can really kind of stay as business as usual.
Your thoughts on that?
All right with me.
All right, so I think if we could, Jennifer, just make sure we don't throw a bunch of things at you to put on there if we do. Say, hey.
I'll just tell you to move it to the next one.
Because we'll be 3 days, 3 business days to our next commission
Okay.
meeting.
Move
anyway.
on.
All righty,
Yeah, good point. Thanks for bringing that up.
and that's all I have this morning.
Did you have something, Kelly, or? Okay.
The 30th of June.
Jennifer, do you have anything for us this morning?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for letting me go, for the training, for the, PIO. Wow, lots and lots of information and really makes you want to know more about what happens if we have an emergency and making sure that we are following procedures to be able to get the public, our county, so notified. Really good. Thank you for letting me have those days to go do that. Also wanted to touch on what Bill commented at your direction at the end of last year, the first of this year, you all talked about having a better workflow for boards. All of the different board, attainable housing. I'm almost done with that project, and once I do, I'll come to you. Just wanted to let you know that I'm almost there. And lastly, we did get some CTF money, and it was almost 5,000 more than what we were projecting. So that's a good thing. Anyway,
What was it, though?
of course you'd ask.
You shouldn't have said it.
I know.
Cause I wasn't expecting anything, so.
$5,000 and 25.
Oh. It was, instead of 11, I think it was 15, almost 16,000. So. Sorry, I didn't
That's okay.
think about having it
Ballpark is
ready,
fine.
so, yeah. Anyway. Just wanted you to be in the loop that I'm excited that we got a little bit more money this year. People are gambling. Thank you.
Losing somewhere.
It's the voluntary tax, right?
Mhm.
And that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That'll bring us to public comment. So if anybody has anything they'd like to comment on now that's not on the agenda, feel free to. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, James Gilbert. I'm here to bring up for discussion the composition of the Board of Health. The current Board of Health, as you know, is composed of the current county commissioners as allowed by Colorado revised statutes. To improve the quality of the overall attention to the health of the public of Custer County, I propose the Board of Health be composed of citizens of the county with expertise in the fields, enabling the board to develop and promote public policies needed to secure conditions for a healthy community. I am concerned about the current approach to public health in the county. The BOCC and the Board of Health have different priorities and their responsibilities to the citizens of the county, and this is a good thing. Effective governance of the county should be the #1 priority of the commissioners. Development and promotion of public policies needed to secure conditions necessary for a healthy community is the #1 priority of the Board of Health. These priorities are not mutually exclusive, but they can be in conflict. The recent pandemic provides clear evidence of those conflicts. I submit that political and economic factors affect good county government. However, they are not the lead factors in securing conditions necessary for a healthy community. In fact, politics has no place in public health policy. Politics clearly affected the COVID pandemic policy and implementation. Locally, the county government resisted the recommendations of both their own public health director, as well as the state and national recommendations from public health authorities. One of you was even complimented for, quote, kicking sand in the governor's face, unquote, regarding COVID practices. These entities are the county's only expert resources on public health. You, as the BOCC and BOH combined, are not, by your own admission. We, the citizens of Custer County, deserve a highly qualified, apolitical public health system. The director deserves a highly qualified Board of Health to effectively advise him and develop and promote policy. Resources in the county populace exist and are willing to do this. Resident experts will have the health of the county as their #1 priority and have an understanding of our county's character. So I formally request that the BOCC take up this matter as an event and as an agenda item. I request the BOCC establish a Board of Health separate from the BOCC, but appointed by the BOCC. The membership should be drawn from experts in public health, medicine, epidemiology, infectious disease, health and environment, and or other relevant disciplines available in the county. There should be a minimum of 3 members from this pool. A commissioner can be a member if deemed appropriate. The powers and the duties of the Board of Health are clearly defined in the Colorado revised statutes. When conflicts arise between potential actions of the BOCC and the Board of Health, discourse between the boards will reach the appropriate compromise in compliance with the CRS. I know that Colorado law says that small counties like ours may, the Board of Commissioners may designate themselves as the Board of Health. The question is, should we? I believe we should be as fully prepared as possible for the next crisis in public health and hope we never see one. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else have public comment here? Online.
No,
No hands online. That would take us to unfinished business now. So, does anyone
I
have
do
any
not.
unfinished?
No,
I do not either. New business. First item would be the consideration of the AP and payroll.
I would move that we accept the accounts payable as presented.
and I'll second it.
That was the accounts payable, you said?
Yes, I brought that up because it.
Yeah. All righty.
Got it, right.
And that is actually, so we should do AP and not payroll, but AP and
Out of cycle.
out of cycle. Okay, so I have a motion on the floor to accept the AP report. Any discussion on that?
Did you have an amount on that?
Yes, sorry, I made that motion.
Never mind, I got it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
And for everyone else
Yeah.
here, it's $503,479.26.
Only 76 pages.
And I'm not hearing any discussion here on that.
I would at least offer up an idea on page 43. No, I'm sorry. IT. Lisa, I don't like the page 43. That is not correct.
Go to the next page, 44.
Thank you. Yeah. My apologies. Obviously, Vernon came in and asked for authorization to work extra hours on this whole conversion. And I got to thinking about that. That whole conversion thing is tied to law enforcement. So I wonder if those hours shouldn't be charged to the sheriff's office instead of the IT account.
They can reimburse him. Easier.
Well, for this,
Well, I mean, as a
it would
routine.
just be a matter of how we chart it, correct?
Correct, we can just go in and change the account numbers.
Yeah.
If that conversion was tied to other entities of the county, I'd be fine with that. But he's using his contract labor dollars. And all of that is, I guess it's tied to emergency services, actually, but
It is.
in reality, it's, I guess 95% of that work is probably directed towards the law enforcement side. So I don't know, I just wanted to bring that up. I'm not gonna make a motion to change that, but I wanted to at least have a discussion about that.
Do that during budget time and then reimburse him.
Yeah, I wonder, I would hate to arbitrarily say that we're gonna take that out of their fund until we had that conversation with them as well.
Yeah, that's why I'm interested in introducing a motion, but do you think it bears some further discussion and consideration? If something comes up with IT that they do need some contract labor, I think we should at least take that into consideration. If he expends those dollars now, that maybe we keep that in mind.
Okay. You'll have to excuse me. I have to stand occasionally here. My back is not doing really well today. So,
And I had a couple other questions, but I had those answered ahead of time, so I'm good. So
right. Anything from you, sir?
It's good.
All right, so those in favor of approving the AP report signify by saying aye.
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 I
And that would take us then to the out of cycle.
I move we accept, you want to do.
Sure.
I'll move that we approve the out of sight, the county payroll approval report is known.
Second. I have a motion on the floor to approve the out of cycle report.
Payroll.
Any further discussion?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
First of all, I'd like to thank Lisa and her office for dealing with some of these things in this out of cycle. It's nice to get some of those cleaned up. I don't know, I guess I didn't know the dates not on it. Oh, yeah, it is too. So we were remiss in getting some people paid in a timely manner that had been agreed upon. It just kind of got by me on a couple occasions, and so I just appreciate your work for that. I kind of wanted to spoil and carry on about the total amount on out of cycle checks until I dug down into the document. TAP and workman's comp. It took the lion's share of that. I mean, just incredible, $276,000 for those. So I know we had worked on trying to minimize the account or the out of cycle checks, and you have done a great job of that and continue to do so. This was an outlier, is my point.
Yeah.
We wouldn't normally have that. For Kelly's record, the out of cycle amount was $393,247.17. And again, the large share of that was for CAP and CWCP.
Anything else? Okay, those in favor of approving the out of cycle payroll report, signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. So,
Thank you for continued good work over there. That's doesn't take us long to deal with 78 pages of stuff. But a lot of work involved, so thank you.
You're very welcome. It was a pleasure seeing you.
And yeah, we were missing.
Judy calls.
Yeah.
Duty calls.
Bye. We'll
It's
see you.
busy.
I will.
thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Okay, we will skip over the next two items because they have been moved to the bottom of the agenda. So we will be looking at E, consideration
Now you're looking at B action.
D.
B,
Bravo.
HMP.
Oh, yeah, my bad. I checked the wrong one here. Let's go back to B, consideration of approval of the hazard mitigation plan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well. Are you
How we doing?
charged up?
Pretty
or
good.
did you-
Oh, charged up. That's a bad word.
I know. You
No,
want to
that.
bring that chair up? I know. You want to bring that chair up or
Well, be there.
I can get it for you. I'm sorry.
I can handle it.
So just a short history of the hazard mitigation plan. It was started approximately 2 years ago. It was supposed to be a 10-month project. We're overdue because the original plan was 2017. That plan was then supposed to be updated within a 5-year cycle. You know, if you do the math, we're a little overdue. The contractor, Synergy, has proposed a 381-page plan that was brought forward to the state, who reviewed it and sent it along for FEMA approval at the federal level and was denied. There were some missing items. So going back and working with a contractor to get those items fixed. Both Bill and I have gotten the additional information from the towns and districts that they wanted and pushed that to the contractor. And you should have had in your packet that 40-page revision. And that will now make it an updated 2023 hazard mitigation plan. Not only is the county hoping to have this kind of support for hazard mitigation, but also that includes those two special districts of Wet Mountain Fire District and Round Mountain Water. So those two districts, as well as the two towns, are included in this county plan. So what we're asking for today is final approval of that and a Custer County resolution. There was a previous resolution, checking with another county who has had to, update this plan every 5 years. In Boulder County, they suggested that I give advice to you that, and that is my job, is to advise you and you make the final decisions of whether you will sign a resolution updating that plan so we can be in compliance. So we can send that along to the state for their final review and FEMA's final review. Now, just a little other caveat is that there's an assessment tool. Our plan had to meet certain measures. Those measures have now been met, but they are new measures that go into effect April 19th, which we will probably not meet those new measures. We'll work on that for the next revision. So if we don't do the resolution in the next week, we probably won't get through that cycle and get approved before April 19th. So today I'm asking for your signature on the resolution. You may or may not have seen a copy.
And so, Kelly just brought to my attention that I needed to add a language. I'm getting ready to do that. So you can be able to have something to sign.
Just a quick question before we
Sure.
make a motion and then we can discuss it more.
Yeah.
So how's it updated? Is it change pages or is it written as a new document? And if it is, how do we rename it so that it's not the same name as the old resolution, which is in effect?
Well, technically, I would say probably the old resolution may not be in effect just because the plan's out of a compliance, but I think that's a,
Or do we have to rescind that resolution? Or what?
You
Can't
could
have two of
rescind
them.
it, or you could just go forward with this new resolution.
Supersede.
Kelly, do you happen to have a copy of that? I'm looking for it,
I handed you a paper copy.
of the old resolution.
I do not have a copy of it.
I
Looked at it, looked like it's word for word.
I can go
Yeah.
get one.
This-
I can go get
this
one.
follows the old resolution. It also follows the sample recommended by FEMA. There's like maybe 2 words different, so
Looked like it's
it's-
the same. then.
very standardized.
I wonder if that would have been in 18.
It was in
17.
17.
Should have been 17.
It was 1704. Right? That shows one.
Yeah, I'll go grab it.
Thank you.
Well, while she's doing that, I move that we approve resolution, Custer County resolution number 2301. Should it have a title?
Yeah, that was my whole point, that we
Should.
need to get this in the
The title?
appropriate
Yeah.
format.
Yeah, that's what she's fixing.
Yeah, right. So she'll have it on the new resolution.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I. So whatever the title is, that's what I move.
Give me a second, I'm still reading here, so
Um,
I guess I would second your motion to get us to that point. So discussion on that.
So where does that shake out with the other entities? We're passing this resolution on their behalf, is that correct?
No, you're passing the resolution as a model at the county, and then we will ask each of them to also pass a resolution through their board of trustees.
mm. And both of them have worked this, so
They have, they're looking forward to this because one of the downfalls of not having this is the ability to apply for grant money.
Right.
And so there are some projects that are sitting on the shelf. And we're going to actually make them a little more shelf ready so that when we can apply for grants, if this plan gets approved, then we can say we have an approved updated 2023
Right.
plan. And then we can take that off the shelf when we see a grant that fits through Forest Service or, other entities. And then we can start mitigation, which is particularly important with our wildfire season coming up.
And it's important from a grant point of view, because you point to the big one that's supporting and it's more likely to be approved.
Right.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Jen.
Yeah, to that point, if I may, Madam Chair.
Yes, I can put some language in there.
And for clarity, those entities can apply for grants. There are just certain grants that this hazard mitigation plan. needs to
Correct.
be in effect. We're not preventing them from applying for grants necessarily,
Correct.
certain grants.
Certain grants, some of the bigger grants. And even if you did not approve the hazard mitigation plan at the county level, they could still pass their own resolutions and apply for grants on their own.
So if you missed this timing, you said something about the 19th. Can you do that and still include the updates if we decided to do that? Or, so if we, that's one option, right? We can do it 2 weeks later. Would that be an impact to anybody?
It would, because it has to be sent to the state, which we plan to do
Then it comes
tomorrow.
back and.
Then it goes to FEMA,
Mhm.
and that's the final reviewer. We had several meetings with the state and FEMA between this denial, which was just in February. Stating this is what you need to fix, and if we fix this, then can we, still get it in by that deadline, but they still need a couple of days to review it. So
Right.
I don't want to, push them too tight and then somehow miss that too.
So the same question is, if you don't, will they approve this one, knowing that there's other changes that we needed to do?
No, we fixed all those things.
I know, but
Yeah.
you said there's some new things that you haven't been able to add.
Oh, well, okay, maybe it needs to be clear. As of April 19th, FEMA has a new assessment tool.
Okay,
Then we have to add those things. Those things have taken 2 years to get put together through several public meetings. So we would have to pretty much start the process all over again, have 3 public meetings. It would originally cost us, I think, $27,000 to have the plan written. We probably incur some costs again and really have to pay a consultant.
so we'll be
Almost
okay,
double.
is what you're saying, is then we can add that new tool later and change page something or whatever it takes.
Well,
Or
5 years from now, we'll
5
be
years is
using a new tool. And we'll have 5 years to grow into the new tool.
Good.
Yeah,
Got it.
that's
Mm-hmm.
clear.
And so that I understand, Jennifer is currently typing this resolution.
All I'm doing is usually there's a header across the top that says a resolution of Custer County political subdivision of the state of
Right.
Colorado establishing the
Hazard mitigation.
hazard mitigation plan.
2023.
Yeah. So I just have to get that
They didn't do it on original,
correct, and that's why it doesn't.
and it didn't have a name, didn't even know what it mitigation plan or not, you sort of.
You have to go through and look for it first. Anyway,
Thank you.
and so I'll have that in just a second, and that'll be the only modification of that header.
So I'll amend the, well, I said it already, ending the title, so it's approved with the time. Or the header. Okay.
Anything else from you, sir?
No.
Do you want to see that
Yeah.
amended title? Okay, so I have a motion on the floor to approve did you make the motion to approve the plan in this resolution, or did you just
Yeah.
do the resolution?
What was the resolution?
Well, the resolution.
So I have a motion on the floor to approve the resolution number 23-01. Those, any further, I guess we had our discussion. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried. I'll wait for the,
We didn't have any public discussion.
my apologies, sir.
I have one comment.
I would let you comment, sir.
In the resolution, it was just said that Custer County, a political division of the state. Counties are administrative and political divisions, so you might want to just add that later.
Yeah, and we've historically adopted that language on advice of our attorney. I don't disagree with what you're saying, but all of our resolutions state that we are a political subdivision of the state of Florida.
The CRS states that county administrative and.
Well, it's a fact one way or the other. and
Thank you for doing that. Picking up slack and doing Mr. Christie both. Thank you.
Thank you. I also wanted to thank you for allowing Jennifer and I to go to the ICS 300 class. I think we're on our way to getting the public information more coordinated as the county PIO. And so you'll be seeing more requests for Jennifer to take more training. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming in. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks. Good job.
Thank you.
Robin, just give me a copy of your updated. Or at least the.
And I will sign that
It's in the.
resolution when she has it available for me.
It is in the plan, or in the packets. Okay.
Okay. And my apology for not asking for the public comment. So now we will skip the next two items.
Why not?
All right, so that brings us to item E, which was consideration of the county manager position. And I think you brought that if you would like to speak. to
I
that
did
real
too.
quick.
Thank you. Yes, I would move that we create a county manager position and move forward with hiring an individual for that position.
I don't believe I am at that point yet.
Yeah, we have an agreement that we were gonna look at this other option before we move further, so I didn't realize that you wanted to propose to do that. So I'm not about to speak to that. I was, if there's some other things we need to do, but I did ask our Tiger team to come in here so that you can see there is movement and we are working hard to make sure we can manage efficiently and better with the resources we have. And so I can let the guys talk about that if you want me to do that, or we can just move forward. We don't need to get into that in this meeting. We can have a workshop to do more detail if you want.
I would like to see that, if not today, at some point in the near future, so that we can
All right,
move
then,
one way or the other.
okay, so then let's make a quick summary then. I think this will work fine.
Point of order here, my motion dies, correct?
It did not receive a second.
Okay, so then we move on with the agenda.
Yep, we can do that.
I would ask then that, we
I'll
have-
set up a separate meeting and we can take a look at where we are. Got, and I can hand out this other stuff, that preliminary stuff that they've been working on. We've got 5 captains of industry working on that and the betterment of the county, so we can get into that later.
When you say we have, you mean the Board of County Commissioners?
No, I
have, or
said
you
that
have?
we, the committee that I had set up, because that was what I was doing.
I wasn't aware of that.
So, yeah, I would like to see that information shortly, because I also have some thoughts were about with meeting with all the individuals in the this building and to address things and see what the concerns are and how to address them moving forward in however that needs to look. And so, but I was kind of waiting until you got your information to it, because you said you had that.
Yeah, we're working hard on it. They are on there.
Okay, so I'd like
All
to
I
do
did
that
was
if we
set it
could.
up and give them some structure that we're working with today. To move forward off of.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Sir,
Mr. Chairman. I'm not speaking to that particular group, but for myself. As far as the position is concerned, I'm very concerned about hiring another person to do this particular job. I feel as though the elected officials of this county have done a great job of good time and working with them very closely. I think that they're certainly capable of going ahead and running their own lane to what they were elected to. And to spend the extra money. I don't know, I've heard all kinds of numbers. I don't know, it's from like 60 to 125,000. And all of a sudden showing this, the taxpayers having to pay for that. I think there's alternative options that can be taken to streamline.
And I think at this time, that's what we're doing, is just trying to explore those options and see how we should move forward, so.
Okay, then you have a public meeting on that.
I will set it up for sure. That's what I just said that we would do.
Thank you.
Make sure everybody's on the same sheet, but we are, as we took the last meeting that we discussed this, was that we would get an option together. That's what I took on. And so we will do that. Thanks for bringing it.
Okay. Next item on the agenda then would be, on your agenda is item F. Consideration of approving member to the Attainable Housing Board. I did speak to that a little bit earlier on my commissioner items. The Attainable Housing Board did lose two members, Charles Vogel and Tracy Ballard. And with the meeting the other day, they voted to bring Troy Baumgartner to us for membership on that board. They have approved him at their level and wanted me to bring him to the Board of Commissioners for consideration of approving him on that board. So I would make a motion that we approve Troy Baumgartner as a member of the Attainable Housing Board.
I'll second that.
Correct pronunciation is bomb.
Baumgartner. He's not a bum.
He's not a bum.
Well,
I get corrected on my enunciation
Good
at different
one.
points.
Depends on who's talking.
that's right.
So,
Do you have a term, when his term?
at the present time, that board is 1-year terms. They are also going to be bringing revisions to their structure to us for consideration and making 2-year terms on a staggered basis. You seconded that, correct, sir?
Yep.
Okay, any other discussion here?
No, sir. I think it's a great appointment. I think Troy will do a great job. Certainly will bring something to the table that's been missing, and that's representative of that.
He needs that. That's exactly right. Those, and teachers need to have affordable housing, and he brings that perspective.
Any public comments? I remembered at this time. You see anything online?
I do know.
Okay.
Just one small comment, who determines what's affordable? The state guidelines?
That is a very relative term, and actually their name is attainable, but that's also a very relative term.
Given the current economic conditions, affordable is in the eyes of the beholder.
Very true. That's been a discussion all along.
And additionally, the government has low income housing. And then what everybody's expecting up here, there are some low income housing. We got trailer parks with $200 a month. And that's maybe not acceptable to raise a new family. And so you got to cut the difference and figure it out. And that's the challenge of this attainable.
One size does not fit all.
That's right.
From the economic centers in the state.
Very true. And that's an issue that we have. Now, they're trying to come up with solutions on that.
Thank you.
Sir,
So, Dale, to your point, certainly couldn't agree with you more. I think in this circumstance, when we get around housing, one size fits one, and that's it. The state has offered up what they believe are indexes for people not to qualify, but, well, really to qualify for some of that based on the AMI. And I don't even think that fits our county, to be honest with you. We've had a discussion numerous times as a Board of County Commissioners about what would be appropriate for our county, and that's a slippery slope. It's hard to get a grasp on that. So it varies from the state between 80 and 120% of the AMI. Well, that's a pretty big chunk. So I think we really need to carve that down to what would be appropriate for our county, to your point, sir. I did not go to that last attainable housing meeting. I will try to attend those, and if they're going to revise their bylaws, I would probably request that they give serious consideration to renaming that to workforce housing. I'm not sure that I'm all on board with the making attainable housing for this county for anybody that wants to move here, unless they want to move here and work. We have attainable housing now, if you have $1 million to buy something off the market. So it depends on how you define attainable, which I would struggle with. So.
Yeah, and I would speak real quick to that before we move ahead to some of these bills coming through the legislature and stuff. I sat in on a couple of meetings here on that Proposition 1, 2, 3. And I think I'm less clear on it now than when I started sitting in. But which is supposed to be geared toward this attainable housing. There's quite a few things and grant opportunities coming up because of the some of the ARPA dollars out there at the federal and the state level. But they all use their charts and everything else based on the AMI, which doesn't necessarily fit our county as well. But a lot of those grants, you have to fit into their cookie cutter to even apply for them to get help on those. So a lot of issues to work through.
There's a lot of acronyms in this place. What's AMI?
Well, and average median income.
Okay.
Sorry. And I can't quote you that figure exactly for Custer County, but it's
Like 60 or 40,000, 45. Like,
yeah, last I looked, combined annual income for a household in Custer County was 48,000. I don't know what the AMI figure is.
Thank you.
But that's a great question. My apologies for that.
None of us like acronyms, but we tend to use them way too much.
I didn't want to be the only person that didn't know.
There's no such thing as a dumb question.
Thank you.
And I said average, and that's not exact. The term is area median.
Okay, next item. Did we vote?
Mr. Chair,
Nope.
Sure.
just
Yeah,
one
we did.
comment about, something Mr. Flower said. I understand the focus on providing attainable housing for people coming here to work where the annual median income is particularly high. But requiring working to access attainable housing precludes then retirees on fixed income that isn't very high. So, for instance, someone who's retiring out of in the state of Idaho and wants to live in the valley, but has very little income for years, cannot come and promotes the attainable housing in this valley. And I would submit that a person like that wouldn't necessarily want to use low income rent. So I worry that an arbitrary requirement like that for the give it traffic.
Yeah, I understand. I think what you're saying, James. As commissioner, my point, I guess, or my position would be that I don't know that we have a county have any business delving into the open real estate market. I think we do have a business in trying to support efforts to make housing available for the people that live and work here. Whether somebody wants to retire here and move here, to me, that's a personal decision that we shouldn't be involved in. Workforce to me is another deal. As I said, I don't think we can make housing attainable in Custer County for everybody that wants to move here. I don't think that's our business. If they want to work here, then that's a whole nother ballgame.
No, what I mean is I'm not sure you can make it attainable for everyone that wants to work here
Oh,
either.
maybe not, but I think that should be our charge. I think that would be what we're concerned about. We can't be everything to everybody. But I think there's validity to say, does government have any business in dealing with the housing markets?
In
I think
fact,
we do if it's workforce.
that is a good point. And why not turn it over to the private sector and let the realtors?
Well, we have, and look where we're at.
Well, not necessarily. It depends on how you chart them. To figure out how they would come together on something that would be competitive yet different classes of houses. I don't know. It's something that, you know, they're the experts and they deal with the public and people come to them and say, find me a good piece of property that I can afford.
Don't get me wrong. I fully support the idea of providing housing for the workforce such that we don't lose teachers, we don't lose EMS people, we don't lose sheriff's deputies because they can't find a place to live locally. So I think it's imperative and your responsibility to see that our workforce is supported for the betterment of the county. So in that sense, I agree that the attainable housing is a program that you guys need to promote and get in place so that we can keep our workforce up to the level where the county doesn't suffer on educational losses and stuff like that. My concern was simply that making it solely workforce makes it a little bit discriminatory, even for local residents who end up retiring here and now can't afford it. But as I was whispering to the gentleman next to me, I seem to be nitpicking today, so.
Yeah, well, and you're bringing up stuff that we need and haven't addressed, and one of them is defining where we're headed and what we should be doing. We really haven't come to a clear consensus on that, and
That's why we've got to have a good board working.
You'll be working under the shadow of the Federal Housing Administration and state government. As you alluded to, the incomes from their level are what they look at and how housing. Every time the state talks about rent controls, they eliminate housing opportunities, especially in small towns.
Yep.
yeah, I don't mean to belabor it, but it's such a convoluted, interwoven mix. Now, the state legislature currently, maybe as we speak, is considering legislation that the state will decide about land use for local counties. And that is a scary, scary piece of legislation.
Anything you do here will be overridden by them.
There's a good chance of it. And if you go to the state or the feds for financial assistance, i.e. grants, then obviously you have to play by their rules. So
rental assistance should be available.
The one thing that I've not ever said as a commissioner, and I don't believe it, that this effort, this initiative is tied to low income housing. Section 8 housing, we have never delved into that. We are trying to maintain this workforce, or at least I am, this attention to workforce housing. I think anything beyond that, to James' point, to me, I would have to question that pretty seriously. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Let me make one last comment like that, because it bugs me a little bit. I agree with you. What we were established to do is to provide the infrastructure and the services so that private industry can thrive, and if it means getting a good house, that's what it's about. Anytime you go and get government money, what are you doing? You're putting yourself underneath a bunch of rules and regs, and pretty soon they're telling you what kind of house you will live in. We walk that line. It's very hard. And when you go for the grants, we had that happen before. They'll say, well, that's a nice idea, but you gotta do this, otherwise you lose the chance of not getting this next grant. That's extortion then, they kind of twist you. So it's really a tough call. And so what we want to spend your money on is the best we can do to make you able to thrive for businesses and your homes and your whatever, to grow with. And we only have and because of the infrastructure, the population we only have a $7 million actual tax, or $8 million, and the rest is grant. We have a $14 million appetite, and all that's with grant money. So we're sort of pregnant now, aren't we? With a lot of things that we do. And the state recognizes you need help in the rural counties because you don't have the population to meet their standards that they want us to have. So they say, well, we'll beef you up so you can hire good people. Well, that means you pay more. And you ask for more grants because the tax base is fixed pretty much by zoning. Eventually we'll get there, but we'll see how far we go. Anyway, just a second thought that we have to balance. Go ahead.
All right, so I do have a motion on the floor. And I did not say anything online.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor then, to approve the Troy Baumgartner. Troy Baumgartner to the Attainable Housing Board. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 That motion carries. And if you gentlemen don't mind, I would like to call a short recess at this time.
Short, meaning 5 minutes.
10 minutes.
5 minutes.
Or 5 minute, 10-minute.
5 minutes. I desperately need Right, the time is now
Thank you.
10:28 AM, and I will reconvene this Board of County Commissioners meeting. Our next item on the agenda is consideration of accepting the resignation of Jared McLean. And I believe everybody has a copy of that letter in front of you.
Short and sweet, I move that we accept the resignation of our BSO officer from him, Jared McLean.
I would second that motion. Discussion. I would say very sorry to see him go. Thought he did an excellent job. I know of several instances where he went well above and beyond what his duties were, just to take care of the veterans in this community, and I really appreciate everything that he did, and I'm sad to see this before us today.
Yeah, as am I. Obviously, we're restricted in what we can say based on a recent executive session, but I'm dismayed and disheartened that we're losing another BSO officer. I think we need to step back and take a hard look at this position. I personally thought he was doing a good job. I think by the nature of him coming into the situation and looking at the historical way that we've implemented the VSO office here, he was doomed. But when we do decide to move forward, if we do, then we'll certainly be adamant about changing how that office operates.
And that's something we would need to look at, that job description, and he also, if you guys recall the email, there's also an attachment on there recommending when we go to fill that office, having someone from the state level VSO come down and sit in on those interviews. I think that would be a very good idea. Any public comments, or are we done here?
Yes, I'm Ted Ballard, the current senior vice commander of the American Legion Post 170 and past commander. I did sit in on his interview during that process. I've also worked with past VSOs. We do have the largest per capita veterans in this county. We have a lot of veterans in this county. 1 out of every 5 approximately is a veteran. So there's a big need for that. Jared was doing a great job, especially at first. The problem that we were starting to see is, for some reason, he was having a problem with our post. I'm not sure. I can't state anything about the VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars, but with the American Legion Post 170, for some reason, he started to alienate us. We wanted to help him, and we actually had several times go to him and say, we have our own veteran service officer. We have a brand new veteran service officer right now who's a post member. He just met with him about a week and a half ago. And there was no indication that Jared was going to have a problem with that. And Joe Studebaker, that's his name, said, we'll help with you. We'll have a committee set up and work with you and do anything you need to do. We have 165 members in our post. We have the capability. We have the funds. We have things to do that we can help. I think that, and part of the job description in the veteran service officer, the county veteran service officer, is to work with the service organization, veteran service organizations, both the VFW and the post, and to both work with them and get input. He didn't do that. He didn't want to. He actually became hostile to us at times. I went there with, and everybody probably knows Bob Dreher, he's our current finance officer. We went there together. And Bob Dreher's been in the post ever since it became, a post began. And so we went there together. We talked to him. He said he thinks that we were too political to do anything with it. We're not political. We can't be. That's not in our charter. So anyway, if we became political, we would lose our charter. We can't do that. I don't know where he came up with that. So he, for some reason, had a lot of animosity against us. I don't know why. In that case, I have no idea. He's always been really courteous to me, personally. And he's been a really good asset. He did work hard for our veterans. Why he would not take our help, I don't know. But I almost believe that that should be a requirement. Not just a, hey, if you get a chance, go ahead and be with or get input from service organizations. That should be a requirement. They should have.
And that's probably a conversation for a later date.
That's correct. Yeah, I
Probably,
agree.
I don't want to drag this out.
That's right. I don't either. I just wanted to state that that I thought Jared was doing a great job. Like I said, I was part of the interview process. He interviewed great. That's how he got the job. We had several that were really good. He was a very good interview. And he did start like gangbusters. He was doing really good. So I'm not sure. I do know I've worked with all the past service officers, all the Finch Woods, John Bill, all of them. They had other problems. John had other problems too. So those are just, you know, that's
Probably still a conversation for later.
right. But
So if we
all I'm
can, let's
saying is
cut it off here.
you might want to, you might want to consider two veteran service officers working for this county. You might be able to do that. They have 4 in Pueblo and you don't burn out as much. That's part of the problem is they burn out. There's too much work for them to do. We have a lot of veterans and a lot of veterans needs. And we also just applied for the Veterans Trust Fund. That was gonna be just.
Okay, and that's totally off of the
That's a
subject
totally
we're on.
different thing.
So
But
if
the
we
veteran
can,
service officer does work with the Veterans Trust Fund too.
yes, that's correct.
The
So
Veterans Trust Fund, and that's part of it. So
thank you.
I'm just saying, please take that into consideration and invite the organizations in for your process, please.
Thank you.
Okay.
And
Well, I'll ditto a lot of what Ted said. This is Ann Barthorpe. But just to reiterate, I appreciate the consideration you're giving to how to do this correctly. It's a vital position. We do have a lot of vets. And I know several of the VSOs dealt with them directly, and they are very much overworked. And I just wanted to give that input as you're giving consideration. Also realize, I don't know if you guys know, but the ones that qualify to take the licensing like Tim did, that can offer more services is critical to this county too, because it stops the vets from having to travel all the time to other counties. So that's just my 2 cents.
thank you. No, I'm not seeing anything online. Sir,
Let me have the last word then as a veteran here. You're 100% right. A lot of veterans here, all walks of life. And every officer that I've seen, and I've been there in war, et cetera. It takes a toll to talk to those people and give them the services that they need. And that's happened to everybody. You live their life, you live their pain, you live their agony, you live their job. And Jared hit the ground running. He did a great job doing that. And that's just, I think, a factor that we have to consider. It is going to be hard to do that. And maybe we'll discuss that in a workshop of some kind, but we got to get the right job descriptions out there and the right understanding and the right support for that office to do the right job, because this, everybody comes up here because of the services we provide. Not only our veterans, but the guys from Fremont County and all around. Big deal. And it took a toll on Jared.
Okay, so I do have a motion on the floor to accept the resignation of Jared McLean as VSO officer. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Nay.
Motion carries by 2-1 vote. Okay, our next item on the agenda would be the consideration of a letter of support for the Wet Mountain Fire Protection District. They are putting in for a grant, an energy mineral impact grant for work they are going to do to their main station here, and have requested from us a letter of support while pursuing that grant. And do you gentlemen have a copy of that?
We do.
Okay. And I would make a motion that we approve and send this letter of support for the Wet Mountain
Fire Protection District.
Fire Protection District. I humbly apologize.
Not Wetmore.
It's not Wetmore. Nowhere close to the kingdom.
Was that a motion, sir?
That was a motion.
One second.
Okay. A motion on the floor to approve and send the letter of support for the Wet Mountain Fire Protection District. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, how did this end up on our agenda? Who brought this to you
I
or?
believe Kevin did.
I put it on due to an email that I received from Wet Mountain. I'm not hearing any discussion here. Any discussion from the room? I see nothing online either. Those in favor of said motion, then please signify by saying aye.
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 That motion carries. Okay. We will now go back and pick up item C. The consideration of sealed bids for the equipment auction.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we consider these bids by the amount of the bid only.
I would second that motion.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on that motion? Anything from here? And
Are you going to make sure that they follow the RFP, and scope of work requirements? Or just the
This-
document?
there is no RFP. This is
This is a
sealed bids for equipment that
equipment.
we put up for sale.
I'm sorry, I thought you were on the other one. So save that comment for next month.
Duly noted.
And what's RFP?
Request for proposal.
I feel better.
Okay, so I have not seen anything online, nothing else from the room. So those in favor of considering these sealed bids by amount only, signify by saying aye.
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 So my thought is, when I read it to you guys, I can just read the amount.
Mhm.
And then when you pick an amount, I can give you the name to put in the motion.
Correct. That would be my preference. I think before we delve off into this, though, we ought to have a little discussion about the process here because we had so many bids.
Do you have them in order?
They went right down,
Oh, you have them by piece of equipment?
yes.
Okay,
It's
so,
all together.
She's got a good, that thing there.
so I would say, to your point, if the first thing we took up was the air compressor and she read those bids, we would vote. And then move on.
Be nice to be able to use our form.
Yeah, I don't know that not voting on a particular piece of equipment would set anything up for later on, so we might as well deal with them as they come up.
I think so.
I do know that the request for bids went out, had basically standard language that said we reserve the right to reject any or all of these bids. And have to accept any of them if we don't want to. So I'm fine with doing them, excuse me, one at a time.
Okay, so I guess if we could start with the first item we'll take. An address would be the Atlas air compressor.
Question?
Yes, sir.
Might I ask a question?
I will let you right quick.
I was told there was no reserve auction, just so you guys know, so you might let people on the ground know that. I don't know if they're allowed to say or not, but I was told there was no reserve auction. So-
But that doesn't mean we don't have the right to reject it.
Okay, I didn't realize
Yeah,
that.
there was no minimum bids put out that I'm aware of.
Okay, there's probably an acronym for that, but I missed.
Well, yeah, I don't know what
There
it
it
is, but let's make one up.
I could think of one, but I probably shouldn't say it.
What the heck?
There's something like that. You know what I'm talking about. We were there.
Okay, so I have one bid here that does not say what it's for, so. I'm gonna open it and see which pile it goes into and then,
Fair enough.
That wasn't me.
And Kelly, to the best of your knowledge, you've received all these bids, or at least we've received all these bids in the appropriate time frame.
yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so the first one is for the Atlas air compressor.
Any idea how many bids you have for that?
Just one,
Okay.
and the bid amount is $25.
And that is your only bid.
Yeah.
Gentlemen. Any comments?
Oh.
I would move that we accept the bid for $25 for the Atlas air
Oh,
compressor.
second.
Do you want the name or?
Not until we make the vote on it. Then we will. Any comments?
I do. I'm concerned about giving this stuff away. And we may have made a mistake here for this amount of items. I'm of the opinion we probably should have had a live auction.
Too late now.
I'm not familiar with this air compressor, but I think we're doing the taxpayers an injustice here by
This air
not
compressor,
having put this out
Yeah.
for public auction.
speaking to this air compressor, I think it's been out of service for about 4 years, 5 years.
Probably doesn't work.
I'm good with it.
Any other? On the table? Point, do we take public comment on the bid, sir? Okay. So those in favor of accepting the bid of $25 for the Atlas air compressor signify by saying aye.
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 Nay.
That motion carries by a 2-to-1 vote. And now if we could receive the name of that.
Steve Snyder.
I'm pretty open about everything, and I don't mind comments either. And I agree with his comment. There should have been a public auction, to be fair to the, you know.
Yeah, when we first considered this, I had no idea. I thought we were
Shocked I
talking about
was.
3 or 4 or 5 items.
Yeah. Hey. Cause you're gonna get guys like me coming in here but at the same time,
Legitimate
I also
bid.
provide a service. Nobody else wanted it. At least you got $25.
Call it to the
But you got
junkyard
one.
for us.
And that's,
It's cheaper to
sorry, I didn't
do it than us.
the public discussion, I didn't. Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's why I didn't get a
notice.
dollar, because that's embarrassing, right? I mean, I live here too, right? I mean, we're all in this together. I mean, I was told there's no reserve, and I'm like, I can't bid $1 on some of these things. That's embarrassing. Some of this is gonna be embarrassing, but still.
If I were you, I would just be happy.
Stick with $1.
Be happy.
Don't worry.
Don't worry.
And just to speak to that point, we have conducted auctions both ways in the past, so.
Kelly,
We've done most of them
as
with
we move
bids.
forward, can you
sealed
tell us
bids.
how many bids for each one of these that you have? Okay.
That'll take us to the Roscoe chip spreader.
And there's just one bid for that.
Drum roll back there.
This should be more fun.
And it is for $3,200.
That wasn't.
Low bid, bad. 32, did you say?
Yes.
Move to accept.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to accept the bid for $3,200. Any discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 This isn't Steve, what's his name, is it?
No, this was Wet Mountain Valley Excavating.
Aye.
Okay.
By the way, Tony, I am taking notes about you. But you then. Don't have that.
So the next one is for the road groom, and there are 3 of them.
And what's this for? I'm sorry.
The road groom.
Road groom.
You could actually put an E on the back of that if you'd like, make it a road groomer.
It's a groomer.
I'm just putting down what Vince put.
Well, you know, Vince.
I do know Vince. The first bid is for 1,165.
Could you repeat that?
1,165. Second one is 700. And the last one is 540.
I'll move to reject those bids.
I'm trying to think what they paid for that.
I know exactly what they paid for.
25,000. I was told.
How old is it? I heard it's a hard
2018.
deal.
Gary bought that.
Yeah.
I would second that motion.
Thank you.
So I have a motion on the floor to reject the 3 bids for the road groomer. Any further discussion? Those in favor of rejecting the 3 bids for the road groomer signify by saying aye.
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 Kelly, while you're working on those, you got your title, duplicate title thing sorted out. On the vehicle.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, the Next is for the trailer, the 1979 GFW trailer. And there are 4 bids. The first one is $440. They must have given them sticky notes to put these on. The second one is 1,000. The third one is 800. And the fourth one is 200.
Can you speak to this trailer at all?
That's a 3-axle trailer that we had down in Rutmore. Until they got their new trailer up here and sent us their old one.
Can I hitch or gooseneck?
It's a pintle hitch.
I mean, we accept a bid of $1,000.
Yeah.
I move to accept now.
I won't second that, sir.
I would think that
Old trailer.
I don't believe I could support selling that for 1,000 either.
I'll move to reject. Those 4 bids.
I would second that motion. So we have a motion on the floor to reject the 4 bids for the 1979 JFW trailer. Those in favor?
Discussion on that. too.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, my mistake, sir.
Yeah.
Discussion.
The only reason that they're all ballpark. These guys know what they're looking for and they know what the trailers are and so. And I've seen that trailer and I understand trailers like that. So that's why I thought it was ballpark. We direct it, you may run the risk of getting less. That's okay.
Yeah. I think we could even scrap it for that much money. That's a heavy.
I don't
trailer.
think so, but yeah, hey, well, I don't know, prices are going up on.
Yeah,
So,
so
Am I allowed to speak to anything?
I don't know, ask him.
I can help.
probably not.
That's a good one. Gotta be an acronym for that one. I'm telling you.
TM.
Again. We haven't been taking public comment on any of these.
Oh,
so,
yeah, okay. Sorry.
That would
Nice
probably.
try, but you can tell us after it's all over.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, we can speak to that later. So, any other comments, sir?
Nah, that's all I had.
Did we vote?
We have not.
Oh,
No,
okay, sorry. No, I did not.
I was calling it when
Okay.
I was correct.
Gotcha.
With good cause.
yeah,
Okay, so those in favor of rejecting the 4 bids on the 1979, I don't know why I keep saying 75, the 1979 JFW trailer, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye,
I get to be an A.
the motion carries 2-1. He's gonna be mad when he doesn't get his yard cleaned out.
Okay,
More
the
rust.
next one is the 2004 Ram 5.7 liter.
How many were there?
3. The first bid is for $300. Second bid is $340. And the third bid is 500.
And I would entertain a motion.
I'll move, we accept the $500 bid. Break the ice.
Second. Discussion.
Took a risk. Good.
Hearing none. Those in favor of accepting the $500 bid on the 2004 Ram 5.7 1500 signify by saying aye.
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 And the name on that one.
Me on that one is Michael Grogan. Okay, the next one is the 2004 Ram 4.7 liter 1500 pickup, and there are 4 bids. The first bid is $500. Second bid is $340.
I'm gonna guess it might be 300.
Third bid is 2,160.
Holy Moses, and
Winner.
2001.
1,160.
Wow. Must like the color. Wow.
And the last one is $1,500.
Made a liar out of me. I thought 3 of them would be the same bidders.
It looks like one. I move, we accept the 2160 bid.
Second that motion. Any discussion? Those in favor of accepting the bid for $2,160, signify by saying aye.
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 Okay.
What's the name on that one?
Oh, that one was Daniel Gasper. Okay, now we're to the 2006 Dodge Durango. There's one bid. And it is $340.
Move to reject.
Second. Discussion.
I'm not familiar enough with this truck that or Durango, I've seen it, but I don't know what shape it's in. 340 is pretty low.
Yeah. Back to my point, it weighs more than that.
Yeah, it may.
6-cylinder.
Not
I
sure.
didn't speak to that at the present time.
The only note that Vince has on here is that the transmission's out.
It's worth the transmission.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Have a motion on the floor to reject the bid for $340. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Okay, the next one is the 94 Chevy 3500 pickup. It's actually the plow truck that came from the airport, I believe. And there are
Jeez,
9 bids on
holy
it.
moly.
Popular truck.
It's got a dump bed on it, but it's full of dirt and weeds. At least it was.
No extra charge.
No extra charge for it.
The first bid
Rats.
is for $501.
Right there.
Price is right.
Second bid is $2,100. Third bid is 1,601. Fourth bid, 500. Fifth bid, 1340. Sixth bid, 500. Seventh bid, 500. Eighth bid, 2,500. And ninth and final bid, 3,000.
Yeah. And when we accept 3,000.
Second. Discussion.
Yes.
Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Name.
That one is
Steve Snyder.
Edgar Mims.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
Not too cheap.
Mims, M-I-M-S,
Edgar.
Edgar, E-D-G-A-R,
That's Nims, NIMS.
M-I-M-S.
And
Okay, now the 97 GMC 1500. There's 5 bids. First bid is $440. Second bid is $400. Third bid is 500.
It's hanging in there.
Sounds like it's about to take flight.
It's down here lower, you can hear it better.
Thank you. Fourth bid is $500.
A wise shopper's opinion.
Fifth is 400.
Wow. What a tie, huh? How do we handle a runoff?
Good point.
We asked that earlier, but I didn't think we would have it.
Flip a coin.
You have the data submission.
No, she did not write it.
Reject them all. I moved reject.
And without knowing how to differentiate between the two.
Well, it's a landfill truck.
Yeah.
It's not that great a truck, but. I don't have a problem flipping a coin, like they do that in the big leagues somewhere.
If we hadn't hit 500, I would definitely be in favor of rejecting that. I would second that motion. Have a motion on the floor to reject the bids for the 1997 BMC pickup. Those in favor, discussion.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, as maker of the motion, really, I made the motion because of this situation. I'm not sure that the 1997 pickup is worth significantly more than that. I don't want to beat a dead horse. I just think we made a mistake.
I have a coin.
Part of discussion, would you be willing to go with a coin toss to pick one of those two top bids?
I support that.
I will call that question and
Wants to.
those in favor of rejecting those bids signify by saying aye. Those opposed,
Hey,
nay.
Nay.
Okay. I would entertain another motion.
I move that we flip a coin
And do what with it?
and pick the winner on, what can you either call heads or tails, you want to make it a head?
I would say, is
I'm
there
gonna
a clear, is there a clear heads and a clear tails on that?
Yes.
Well,
There's
my
the head.
point in asking that, Bill, was, so it comes to head, what are you gonna do with it? I'd say we need to pick one of these.
So I said,
I would say
a,
heads would be the first bid
Would
for
be both.
$500, tails would be the
Yeah.
second bid for
One, two.
$500. And
an independent flipper can let it drop on the
I
floor.
think
He looks qualified. Oh, there it is.
The head's the cat, the box guy. Just let it hit the floor.
could I see that coin before you flip it? I would like to see the heads and I'd like to see the tails. So that we're all aware.
And We
We're
agreed.
ahead on it.
Heads is the first 500 and tails is the second.
Heads the first 500, the tails is the second.
Okay,
Can you agree with that?
this is a Custer County Bobcat coin. Heads will be the Bobcat. Tails will be the picture of the football stadium.
And they'll defend that door and they'll defend this door.
So that way we know what heads is and what tails is.
Thank you.
Keep that coin just for this occasion.
So we've agreed heads will be the first bid.
Heads is the first bid, tails is the second bid.
Okay, there it is.
You may flip your coin.
It's,
There it is.
Touch me, heads it is.
Heads wins.
it's
Yeah,
wins,
you have
and
to
that
give it
was the
back.
first bid.
That would be the first bid.
So the first bid was Michael Grogan.
Mike was doing well. Brogan, getting a fleet, isn't he?
Yeah. Do I get that coin?
I got another nice little thing. I got a bunch of, bought 300 of them. For the team.
It's a nice coin.
Okay, the next is the 98 Chevy Blazer. 6 bids on it.
People are Chevy people today.
First bid is 551. Second bid, 800. Third bid, 950.
Keep them climbing, Kelly.
Fourth bid, 340. Fifth bid, 1,400.
$4,500.
And
That's your $1,000.
sixth bid, 401.
Well, we separated the Kmart shoppers from the Dollar General crowd.
I would move to accept the bid for $1,400.
I'll second it.
Discussion. Those in favor of accepting the $1,400 bid signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Right.
And that was Dean Frank.
Dean Frank.
Frank, F-R-I-N-K.
FRI.
Frank. Okay, then we have the 74 Ford trash truck. One bid. And it is $200.
Think you can drive itself to the trash bin?
I can't.
Move to reject.
I would second that motion.
I'll third it.
I will call that vote. We have a motion on the floor to reject the bid for $200 on the 1974 Ford trash truck.
It does work.
Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Right.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
The guy's probably going, "Phew, I got one thing."
One of the
Next.
rims on that's worth that.
next is the 90 Chevy pickup, 4 bids.
250.
First one is 340. Second one is 301.
Mhm.
Third one is 200. And the last one is 600.
Hmm. We accept the 600 bid.
We have a motion on the floor to accept the bid for $600. Discussion. I would say thank you for someone for putting a 600 down. Those in favor,
We didn't need to keep it.
signify by saying aye.
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 And that one was Robert Roscoe. Okay, last one is the 2002 GMC Yukon. 5 bids. First bid 500. Second bid 401. Third bid 400. Fourth bid 740. And fifth and final 1,500.
Instead of parts.
I would move to accept the bid for $1,500 on the 2002 Yukon.
Second.
Discussion. Those in favor of accepting $1,500 for the 2002 Yukon signify by saying aye.
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 And that one is Edgar Mims.
Again. Right.
I would like to address the rejected bids. So there are 2 pieces of equipment from Road and Bridge. One from the sheriff's office
And from the
and the trash truck from the landfill. Given the fact that we rejected those bids and the numbers on those bids, I would move that we allow those particular entities to dispose of those vehicles as they deem suitable.
Sorry, sir, I can't second that motion. Because that could mean giving them away. Your language is a little too vague for me to support.
I would modify my motion to state that they may dispose of these vehicles by selling them at their discretion. Or at least scrap price.
I'll second it. Figure it out how to get rid of it.
I would-
Put the truck on a scale and
That open
Price
to
it
public
out.
discussion?
What's that?
Is that open to public discussion? You don't want to hear.
We're done with the bids. That's a separate motion. After we're done at the table, I will call for public discussion. So discussion here at the table on that motion.
Yeah, I can't support it, Kevin, and here's why. I think it just opens us up to a can of worms that we have no business getting into. A nepotism, favoritism. There's a lot of reasons why I can't support this. It's not that I don't trust anyone. I will be subjected to that. I would move to amend your motion if and when it's appropriate, but I don't want to do that before we have a chance to debate, so I'll hold off on that. But that's where I'm at. Be pretty easy for somebody to say, hey, take this off my hands, give me a couple $100 for it, it's yours, and I just don't want to operate that way. I want to put our employees in that position.
So, and my comment on that, and then I'll get to you, sir, would be we made them available at this time. And these prices that we rejected weren't even scrap price, so. The flip side of that is if we just keep them sitting around, they're deteriorating even more. So I think where they weren't adequate bids on this, if they can dispose of them and recoup some money from them, I would be willing to go down that road.
Yeah, I agree. We can. We constrained it at, they can weigh them, scrap them, and then in order to get them out of here, it costs money to get them out to scrap. So somebody's gonna have to flip the bill besides us. And it is some additional money, and the fact that we had it open already, I think we're good. The nepotism doesn't come into it if they work the price or work the weight and get them out. I don't think that's gonna be an issue. I trust our employees.
Well, then I didn't understand the motion. So you're saying that they can sell them no less than scrap price? Was that your
That's the
intent?
motion.
Okay. Do you know what scrap price is for steel?
I could find out
Yeah.
shortly.
It's running 80 or
It
something.
varies from day to
About
day.
80,
Sure.
pretty sure.
Again. How are you gonna put that word out there? Is everybody gonna have a fair shot at that? Are they gonna recompete those bids?
No, I think that's a PIO question. I
Well,
think-
no, it isn't.
No, not the question. I think us can make the decision to put it out and say, these didn't make it,
So
and here's where they're available. You look at.
we competed them at this one.
Right.
My intent was not to recompete those,
Okay.
that if they had a valid offer, that they could just take that offer and go. Because
Well-
we'd already went through this process.
I agree with you there. I don't know how you define valid. I guarantee you that road groomer and the three of us. It was the three of us, at least two of us voted to buy that piece of equipment. And I will not support, and I won't have any part of selling that thing for a couple $1,000.
Dave figured that out. Take a
So
motion.
would you consider either getting these to a consignment auction or holding on them until we deem appropriate to have a live auction? This is insane.
I would pull
That
it.
thing is worth 10 times, 20 times more than scrap iron. And I get your point that you'd be
Pull it
willing to
out.
pull that out.
Get rid of these. If the rest is not. worth it.
You know, we have a fiduciary responsibility here, and I just. There's enough good old boy stuff going on in this county. We don't need to exacerbate it by going down down this road. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be argumentative here, Kevin.
I would support a motion to pull that groomer out of the mix. The rest, I think, would be valid to leave in there.
Let me look, so we leave in the trailer, which I think is a mistake. It's worth more than scrap, I believe. Any reasonable person would agree with that.
And if you wanted to put a bottom dollar on any of these particular items, I would not be adversely affected to that either.
Yeah, and I thought about proposing that. You know, we're in that situation. We asked people to bid, and I think they did to some degree. I don't think we've violated anybody's intent by rejecting some of those bids. I think we have to be fiscally responsible to the best we can. I don't want to drive that trash truck to Denver to an auction. It might not make it. I don't know that. I've reserved all my comments on this equipment. But I think we owe it to the citizens of this county to do what we think is absolutely the best that we can do and not just quote unquote give this stuff away. I certainly would support taking that road groomer out of there. The only other angst I have is with that trash truck. Maybe we put a minimum to that and turn landfill loose to sell it, but we're just going down a not very good path. And I would move to take the road groomer out of there. I would move to amend your motion and exclude the road groomer.
I would second that motion. For discussion on that.
Good with it.
But my opinion is that should go to auction. That's worth some money to somebody.
And on a modification, that is just a discussion at the table, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. So the new motion now, the modified motion is to allow these departments to dispose of the equipment other than the road groomer by offering for sale for not less than scrap price. Further discussion.
Based today, or I mean, we gotta be a little.
It would be based upon the scrap changes, so it would be based upon scrap price the day of the sale.
Sure. Right. And who's gonna determine that? Representative of the county?
Yeah.
Whoever's selling it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just let us.
I'll second that.
And that was that is the new motion now.
Oh, okay, you're restating the new motion,
Yeah.
sorry. Okay.
So
Clarifying
now
the
what,
new motion.
back to discussion on that here.
Yeah.
Anything else from up here? I believe you had a,
I was just wondering, why don't you just put them back out for bid with a reserve?
and we could do that.
The other thing that I thought that too, the thing I thought though is the guys that were bidding on this. They go back and in fact, be bidding with the local. Indian like landfill or something, they'll put a bid in or offer a price. Be up to them to. Hold it. That is a reserve basically, because it's the scrap price.
Yeah, gives them another chance.
Yeah, it gives them another chance still.
Well, I think probably they're all paying attention to what we were doing here today, so they would have that chance, that opportunity.
Sure.
Since we're open for public discussion, right?
That's right.
I
Hey,
will
you can
call
talk
you.
now.
So this is all I do day in and day out. Buy and sell anything. I don't care if it's a dead cat, I'll buy it if I got a buyer. Current scrap rate, 150 in Pueblo, but you've got to get it to Pueblo. That's 150 per ton. Now your trash truck, heavy truck, right? I mean, that thing's it's probably gonna scrap for, let's just guess 800. Who's gonna take it down there and what's that gonna cost? That's a big truck. Not everybody can move that truck.
You may have to haul it.
Your 1979 3-axle trailer is in pretty excellent condition according to the mechanics there. And $1,000 is a pretty solid bid on that. I think you can squeeze a little bit more out of that, but what's that gonna cost? You might get $1,800 for it, but it may cost you $300 worth of time and effort to get that. Having your own public auction, which you were discussing, smaller auctions cost a larger commission rate. So if you only got 7 or 8 pieces of equipment, auctioneer is going to come from wherever and charge 30%. Now, if you've got $2 million worth of equipment out there, they'll negotiate 5%, 3%.
Right.
So that's all. So your smaller auction is going to cost you a lot more on your commission. I think what you guys did today was great. And some of these numbers actually work pretty well. You did very well on some of these vehicles, which is your typical auction. And not so well on some others. And you had the right to reject that. So you actually won and you won on both sides of those bids. I don't know anything about liability with the county and stuff, but some of these vehicles are infested with mice. What if that buyer gets sick? Some of those were pretty nasty. I mean, I wouldn't have, yeah, anyway, so there's that. And then if you do go with the equipment auctions on your groomer, I think that's an excellent idea. And there's several services on that, and some of them don't require
Like Richie.
hauling. Yeah, Ritchie Brothers, Big Iron Auction Time, there's a million of them out there, but the best ones would be something that you didn't have to haul it to. You can just issue your photographs and it can stay right there on the property, and your bidder can come from Ohio to get it. It'll be right there waiting on them after it's paid for. So, just some of the comments I had.
Great.
Okay.
I'm the one that bid on the garbage truck, and it weighs about 8 tons, and I'm gonna have, if I get it, I have to pay to have it hauled off. But I went up to look at it, see if I can get it started. The mice have eaten all the wires and everything. And the biggest thing I needed it off of it was the wheels. And I'll scrap the rest and I'll make a donation and split the half of the proceeds off the scrap value back to you guys to put towards the dump, whatever you want to do. I just moved the wheels for another antique truck.
That's smart right there. I like that.
Not a bad deal.
Yeah. Yeah, he's gonna have a lot of cost in just moving that. thing.
Yeah, I mean, I got a tractor trailer lined up already. And
Got a winch.
well, we got all kinds of,
That's his problem.
Yeah.
That's selling.
Get it lined up.
Yeah.
so at Bonnie's Car Crushers was 120 the other day for,
Yeah, I saw that on there. It's one.
but the only thing is that's worth anything going to the scrap is the garbage compactor itself. That's where your weight's at, and I estimate that to be about 4 tons. Gross vehicle weight on the truck is 27.2. So that gives you 10,000 pounds of crap you can put into the truck.
Yeah.
Commissioner Farr.
Sold.
Sold. That's a good smart.
I think scrap iron minimum reserve scrap iron's not necessarily a bad way to go. My phone's been blowing up here recently from county employees that are familiar with and know this equipment. Someone suggested that we consider retaining the garbage truck and converting it to a roll-off truck. County owns 2 roll-offs. We have no way to move them other than dragging around with a loader.
But it's a gas or
So I don't know if we want to give consideration to that. The one thing we haven't talked about, and this is why I go back to, I think we made a mistake. We probably should have reached out to some auction companies, and particularly Purple Wave, who is an online auction company that we should all be familiar with, because we bumped elbows with them. I don't know, I just want to be able to finish this transaction and feel like we did what was right for the county. Getting rid of most of this stuff, we're getting rid of it, all of it, obviously, we already agreed that was the right thing to do for the county. We never talked about giving it away, right? We never had that conversation, so.
But we have had that conversation now, Tom, and I thought the scrap thing is a good one. And
Well-
we're there now, and if we don't need to keep going, beating it, I'm good with it.
If one entity wanted to pull something from another entity, they could cut them a check for the scrap price on it. So with that.
And I like
Yeah,
his deal
that's
too.
true.
I mean, the thing to do is nobody else bid on that trash truck. Nobody wants it.
And the transmission is not correct with the rear end in it.
You can't road it.
Yeah, can't road it. It's got a gasoline 391 engine that hasn't been started in 6-7 years. And 8 air brakes on it. Deteriorated lines are
That does,
disconnected.
that means there's no brakes on it.
Yeah, there's no brakes on the baby.
So I have another question, Mr. Chairman, posed to the board. It's really a multifaceted question. Who's going to conduct the sale of the rest of the equipment minus the groomer, right? We voted on that, correct? We weren't, or we were still in discussion on that.
We're still in discussion.
We have not voted
Let's finish
on
that.
that yet.
Okay.
But my thoughts on that, when I made my motion, was we let the department heads deal with that for no more equipment than there is there.
Okay, so the sheriff department's gonna sell theirs. Road and Bridge will sell theirs. Landfill will sell theirs. Okay. We're telling them they're gonna sell those minimum scrap price. Nobody gets a choice. That's what we're telling them they have.
So we said,
In other
We're
words,
telling the
if they-
sheriff, you're gonna sell those vehicles.
no less than.
Yeah, I don't know that we're telling them they have to sell them. If they choose to hold them for the next time we have an auction night, I
But
don't
if they're
think
going
that
to sell
They're up to them to handle
Yeah.
what they got.
Okay.
Being stored now. And
So
the
that
mice
would-
are loving it.
it would be allow them to do that.
Yeah, we'll deal with it. Let's get through this
It's easy
motion.
for us to sit here and do this. It's another thing to
Well-
make sure we understand what we
Sure.
decide we're affecting
Right,
somebody
we-
else, primarily the
Right,
sheriff.
let's get back to the motion first, Tom. The motion was the.
Well, this is discussion on that motion though,
No,
so,
it isn't. It's,
well, it is because
Well-
it pertains to what the
but that's,
motion is.
but let's get that out and then we can just talk about how we want to handle selling the equipment. You do it one step at a time.
Well, we're in discussion for that motion.
Okay,
This would
so we're
affect the
talking
vote.
just the groomer.
No,
No,
that
that
was
we're
was
talking
amended.
everything but the groomer.
No, I thought we said we wanted the motion was for the groomer.
No.
Be pulled out.
I moved to amend the main
Oh.
motion by excluding the groomer.
And that motion
Okay.
carries.
And so we're done.
Okay, so we carry. We're back, groomer's out.
We're back to the
If
motion.
the
We're back.
passed.
Keep going down.
Yeah, all this other stuff has to do
Right.
about everything except the groomer,
Okay.
in my opinion.
Okay,
So the motion on the floor
Right.
is to allow the entities that have the equipment that we rejected the bids on, to allow them to sell these at their discretion, no less than scrap price at the time of sale.
and I am perfectly good with that, and even the landfill trash truck can be handled that way, go out and talk.
It's included in this list.
That's
It
what I
doesn't matter
said,
who
that-
put the bid in.
My point is that that it handles it all, so he made a good point, everybody agreed it was a good point, he can handle it going out there, it's no less than the trash or the price of the scrap. And he could even be better deal, depends on the entity, so I'm good. I'll support it in other words. I'll support the vote.
Anything else from you, sir?
Sheriff's vehicle's got just one to deal with then, correct?
That is correct.
One each entity.
Road and Bridge has one because we took the.
That's right.
So each department has one piece of equipment. Between the sheriff's office, road and bridge, and landfill.
So it's first come, first served. Whoever runs out to Road and Bridge and says, hey, I'll give you scrap price for that, you can make that decision.
He can make that decision. It doesn't mean it has to be first come, first serve. If he wants to let it out and have people to bring it back in, they're allowed to do that. We're allowing them to dispose of those pieces of equipment at their discretion. Any other thing from the table?
On here, I'm ready to go.
Anything else from the room? James?
That's again, where do the proceeds go?
That was on my list to ask after we vote on it.
Get this done.
The proceeds would go just like they were off of this auction back to the entity that had that equipment. It would go into their budget.
And back into their budget.
So it'd be the sheriff getting it. the
We
landfill
decided
getting
that
it.
officially or not.
You guys decided that. in
We
the
did that.
We
in
did
the-
that
We did
when
that.
we
before.
went to bid here.
I knew we talked about it. I couldn't remember if we.
So how would that work on the trash truck?
Goes to the landfill.
Go to see Brian and make him an offer? Or
Sure, and then if he just says, I'll wait, I'm gonna find out if somebody else is better than you, and you can do that if you want.
And then, been in the newspaper and only one person bids on it,
Pretty much got it locked.
Okay.
then mice go with it.
Please take them.
Okay, so
I gotta-
it's. Sure.
A lot of mention of scrap price, and this scrap price is pretty much as high as it's been in a long time right now, at 150 a ton for the public, usually about 180 for dealers. There was a time as of last year that scrap in Pueblo was getting down to $40 a ton, $20 a ton. You were gonna have to pay to get rid of your pickup truck at one point, even if they gave you $40 for it or $80 for it. I don't know about you, but my time's worth something, and load it on the trailer and risk injury and haul it all the way down there and all that BS. So right now, we mentioned scrap price. It's really good right now,
Yeah,
at
well, it's
150 a ton. So 6 months from now, when you have that auction, it could be back down to $40 a ton, and you better hope that somebody gives you $100 for
So is
anything
the county gonna weigh it?
and just get rid of it, you know, so.
Bring it in here.
When we revert back to a minimum of scrap price, I don't even like that language, because minimum could be nothing. I mean.
If they wait long enough, it will be.
Yeah.
Harold and I did it, it was two and a quarter, wasn't it?
And I fully understand it's a variable, and I made that statement.
Yeah,
earlier,
exactly, yeah.
Cause I've scrapped vehicles and
So
things.
Some of these vehicles right now, I mean, $1,000 for that 3-axle trailer, and you're talking about selling it later for a minimum of scrap price, minimum might
Could
be
be.
$80.
Or
You got
40.
$1,000 on the table right now. I'm not even the winning bidder on that, but that's pretty close to the pin in my opinion. So some of these,
For now.
and then you gotta think if some of these were overshot the mark, I'd be thrilled to get $1,500 for a vehicle full of mice. So you made $800 on that junk, and you know, it's a win and lose. It all comes out to, it is what it is. It's market value.
Yeah.
What the market will bear.
Okay.
We're gonna notify the 3 entities that this is now their responsibility to deal with.
Yes.
Okay.
And
We're
we
gonna do
can,
that
we can
when?
today,
Can we instruct Jennifer to just send a quick email? That's what we decide,
yeah.
but it's not
Can't.
fair to them to be doing all this and not letting them.
So I agree, but let's call the question, and then we can have that discussion and get her to do
No,
it.
we can't.
We can.
call the question.
I
No,
can
we
certainly,
can't. Not
I
if it
can.
passes, because that'll end all the discussion.
But not, the process of doing it afterwards has nothing to do with that, Tom. We can make that a request.
Well, I think we're at a point to
Call the
where,
question.
Don, Bob doesn't have anything to do with it.
Your choice.
I think we're about to the point where the question's gonna be called here anyway. And if you're not gonna call it I would like to make sure you don't have a further question.
Well, I appreciate that.
we
sir.
will-
I do think, doesn't matter how long it takes, we owe it to the entities that we need to notify them. We had not talked about that.
Absolutely.
And they do need to be notified, and we can have Jennifer do that today. And we can scale them in and out
Right.
on our scales if something does sell for scrap price.
Can I make
So-
one?
No,
Hang on a second. So do you have further questions?
No, sir.
Do you have anything?
not right now. Let's go.
Okay, one last time to the floor, make it brief.
I'll give you $500 cash for the thing and get it out of your hair.
Okay, well, that's not on the
That'll be
table. right now.
okay.
That has nothing to do with the motion on the floor.
Okay.
Okay, that's not for us here. Okay, so those in favor of the motion on the floor, which is to allow these three entities to dispose of their equipment at their discretion for no less than scrap price, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
that motion carries. So Jennifer, if you could send an email, note the piece of equipment to the individual entities and tell them that those were rejected and they may dispose of them at their discretion for no less than scrap price. If it is sold at scrap price, then we will scale them in and out on our scales.
We will, or the buyer will.
We will allow the buyer.
I suppose we would need to do that.
Yeah.
Well, they're using our scales. I guess my intent there was to allow them to scale in and out without charge on our scale.
Saving $10.
Okay. That takes us to our next item on the agenda, and that would be the consideration of sealed bids for the courtroom painting.
Holy Moses, how many do we have? Only one.
So,
I saw that stack.
If I may,
You may, sir.
I'm assuming we'll get a bid to paint the courtroom. Would like to have a conversation about trying to address getting these other rooms painted. I don't know what's the best way. We could put it out for another RFP. We could ask the bidder if they're interested in doing that. I don't know. I don't want to react to this bid. I want to have a conversation before we open the bid to see what you guys think about that.
Because, kind of reiterate, I think everybody was here earlier when you commented on that. Most people were here probably, but not everyone. The RFP went out for the courtroom only to get painted. Because the court personnel were going to paint their offices and the lobby. And I guess their offices in the lobby.
Yes, 2 of their 3 offices. They've already painted one, and then the district court clerk instructed them that they were not allowed to paint.
Nice meeting you too.
Yes, good to see you, buddy. So I just want to get it on the table. We can have a discussion after we open the bid if we want, but I didn't want to open the bid and then have a big conversation about it. That's my whole point.
Yeah, the
We
RFP
do
kind of,
need to get them
an issue.
done. Personally, I think the easiest thing would be if we open the bid and we accept that bid, we could ask that bidder if they would want to paint those other rooms at that same rate. I don't know if it's a square footage rate or whatever. I don't know, because I haven't seen the bid. I don't know.
What if they say no?
So if you're okay with opening the bid and then having a discussion with the 3 of us, I'm good with that too. I don't care. But
Yeah. I wish that the clerk would have told them in advance so that the RFP could have addressed all of the places to be painted.
we ended up with one bid, right? So I would be okay with asking that bidder if they would be willing to do those other rooms on a comparable price basis or something.
If we accept that.
Yeah, if we accept it, or I can write another RFP. Puts us out 2 or 3 weeks. And we're trying to get this done before we get the carpet in.
Are we gonna discuss it now? Or you wanna go?
No,
we can discuss
he brought it up
'cause I
to
got
discuss
time.
before we opened the bid.
Okay, so-
So what's your thoughts on that, sir?
So how complicated are these 2 other rooms compared to what he already bid on? Probably the same. roughly.
No,
One's got
they'll be a
more
little more
furniture in it.
complicated, yeah, because of furniture.
Right, got more furniture.
And somebody might say, well, what about the furniture in the courtroom? Well. It's not near as complicated to deal with as some of that other stuff.
Right.
So I don't know, if you want, I can rewrite an RFP, that would clear it up, but it's gonna take some time.
There are some suggestions too. Maybe you want to take them now, or you can make a bid or a motion first.
So I think I personally would be more comfortable if we let that back out on a separate RFP, because it's big enough to do that, I think.
And it's not gonna be the end of the world for the carpet, necessarily. So I'll write another RFP for it. Technically, it's probably the right way to do it.
So when's the carpet coming in?
I'm waiting for a phone call. I was told I'd get a call this week. The carpet's in.
Right. yeah.
We just need to schedule the install.
Rooms get painted in buildings commercially all the time. They cover the carpet. That's probably not an issue. So that's weight is okay with me.
However, I do want to offer you 2 gentlemen the opportunity to write that RFP if you're interested. I want to be fair about it. So,
Well, we can review them.
you go review it. I ain't talking about reviewing. I'm talking about writing it.
Well, you just gotta add that to it, don't you?
I'll
But I hear you.
I'll
RFPs
gladly
are
write
paying
the
it.
I think
RFP.
you could probably use the one you had and just take one room off and put the others on.
Ann's got some thoughts there. Let's hear
I
them.
have a suggestion, these people have gone to work and trying to follow the process. What if you look at this bid, if it's acceptable, you take it. And then you can do a change order, if they don't want it, then you put it back out the bid for that.
For the pieces.
I think I'd still be more comfortable letting it back out on another RFP myself. But
I'm willing to do
Yeah.
that.
thank you.
Good
So
idea.
I think we're kind of in agreement on there. Kelly, if we could we hear the bid?
And will you let the minutes reflect that I did offer the opportunity for anyone else to write that RFP?
Okay, you want me to read the name or you just want me to read the bid?
I think we should follow the same. Because we had one singular bid on other stuff, we did it without the
It
name.
doesn't matter, right?
We could still make a decision based on the price. My opinion.
They're broken in 5 pieces or something.
2, looks like. So, you have the RFP,
I do.
because part of this bid is the judge's chambers, the foyer and the.
Oh, it is. So Christina must have asked them to.
Maybe.
So it's all there.
Yeah, he came in.
I wasn't here the day they came.
He came in and brought the bid and made a comment about, oh, I think that I need to do the offices too, just something halfway, but I didn't know what the RFP looked like, so.
Okay.
So he's separate with those, did he?
Yeah, they're separate.
Okay, so for transparency, when Christine came to me and said, we're not allowed to do that. I said, well, I cannot be here on the day that we opened that up for inspection, which I think was last Wednesday or something. She said, well, I can ask of them if they want to bid those other offices too. I said, that's up to you.
Okay.
So maybe If we accept the bid, our problem solved. I don't
It
know.
is to me.
Interesting to see what they have to
Sounds
say.
like it.
All right,
We're gonna do the courtroom separately though, right? It's been separate.
Yes.
Good.
yes. So that's the one I'll read first, the courtroom and vestibule walls. Description of work, move, replace furniture as needed, mask all trim as needed. Remove and replace heating murals. Patch and repair damaged areas, fill nail holes, cut and roll 2 or more coats as needed. Above mentioned areas. Labor, 30 hours at $110 an hour, which is $3,300. Materials, paint, 10 gallons at $650. Tape and masking, 75. Caulk at 35 for a total of $860. So total labor and materials for that is $4160. Estimated start date, March 31st, estimated completion, April 15th.
4160 cents.
Yes.
Okay.
Once a down payment of $2510. And then $1650 due at completion. So you want me to go ahead and read that?
Yeah, I think we ought to deal with this because that's what the
Okay.
RFP has.
Yeah, the hourly rate was 110.
Yes.
I've been getting bids on painting some stuff at our place and in other areas, and that's hourly rate for that room is pretty good actually. So I'm pretty good with this bid, and the materials are the materials. You put anything above that 10% unknown or anything like that, it's just straight up. That's what it's
Yeah,
gonna
there
be.
shouldn't be any unknown. That's what we allow them to come
Yeah.
in and use.
So I'm good with it. I move we accept the bid of 4160. Get it off the dime.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second it. I did not touch base with finance to see where we're at with buildings and maintenance, but I believe that's within the realm. However, this specific job was not a budgeted item. So it will come out of the general buildings and maintenance.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other, just I have a motion on the floor to accept the bid for 4,160 for the courtroom and foyer as described, scope of work as described. Any further discussion?
The proposed start and end date does fit within the confines of the dates that's in the RFP.
Anything,
When's the start date?
March 31st
Okay.
to April 15th, I believe.
Mhm. And of course, they'll have to work around the court schedule. And I believe the RFP, I could pull it up. I tried to find it here real quick, but I think it had language in there about courtroom could be made available on a Friday or a Saturday. Now, I don't know that we'll get by with that with their offices. I haven't talked to the courts about that. We have to talk to the lease and know about that.
See if he's in that, if the offices are in that time frame.
Any further discussion here at the table then?
On here.
James?
Just a question, if you pass this vote, then that forces you to put out another RFP for the other rooms, correct?
No,
We can still consider it. This person submitted a bid for those other offices as well. We just haven't looked at it.
But he submitted one for the courthouse And one for the courthouse plus the offices.
No,
No,
Oh, sorry, I misunderstood. But don't you? But if you accept a bid for. How are you letting the public bid on those other rooms?
I would write another RFP and publish it just like I did this one.
Okay, so you are
Yes,
gonna have to do another.
well, we may, depends on whether we accept this bid or not. And if we do accept this, it will be without any of the other public having an opportunity to bid that,
Okay,
to your point. However, we only got one bid too, so,
yeah,
if I may,
And
Mr.
also,
Chair,
Those people
that,
have
sir?
the inspection,
if I may,
they were there and they had on.
yeah, this is a real bid.
a statement in the RFP did say that the BOCC requests that your job be completed on a Friday and or Saturday if needed by April 15th. That's a request,
Yeah,
but in demand it. They could still do it on a Tuesday or Wednesday, but if we need to get it done by the 15th, then
They're
we
running
make
behind.
it available on the Friday or
Sure.
Saturday.
Okay.
Anything else from the floor? And I'm not taking anything online. So those in favor of accepting the bid for $4,160 for the scope of work as described for the painting of the courtroom, signify by saying aye. Aye.
I,
That motion carries.
Okay,
okay, so this bid, areas to be addressed are judicial office spaces, judge chambers, foyer, office walls. Description of work, move, replace furniture if needed, mask all trim is needed, remove and replace heating murals. Caulk patch and repair damaged areas, fill nail holes, cut and roll. The one more coats as needed, above mentioned are labor. 10 hours at 110 an hour for $1,100. Materials, paint, 3 gallons, $195. Tape and masking, $25 for a total of $220. Labor and materials together, $1,320. Same estimated start date of March 31st, completion April 15th.
can you read the first part of that again, Kelly? I missed some of that.
The description of
The-
work,
The bill of the building, yes.
oh, judicial office spaces, and then in parentheses, judge chambers, foyer, office walls.
Okay, and I'm assuming the office will means court security office. There's something on my part. There are
two officers,
There's three. Well, there's 2 offices and the lobby.
right, what she said.
So. I would move to accept that bid.
I'll second
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor to accept the bid for the additional work for the offices in the foyer. To the sum of $1,320 with the scope of work as described. Is that correct?
Yes.
Discussion.
To Mr. James's point, had we had more than one bid and the other bidder did not have the opportunity to either one, come and look at that, or even know it was available, i.e. if 1 out of 3 bidders got the word that we needed those other rooms painted and the other 2 didn't, I wouldn't be going down this road. But we only had 1 bid, obviously, we must have thought the rate was acceptable. I'm okay with moving forward with this.
Anything from you, sir?
Nope, I'm good.
Anything from the floor now?
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Any language in there about it down?
Same as the other one, half the
Okay.
labor, $550 and materials, so $770 down payment, and then remainder of $550 when complete.
You okay with that?
Good.
If we're gonna paint it, I guess we'd have to be.
Yeah, I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for half down to cover the materials in this job market.
What I've been getting
Anything from the floor?
from bidders.
I have a question for you. If we do half down, would that be acceptable to do an out of sample for it? So then that way we can, because if not, then they have to wait till the end of April. So I just wanted to make
There's no
sure
reason
that,
why, right?
so make sure that was okay with y'all.
We've done out of cycles for that before and did the doors out there.
And if we did it in cycle, the down payment in cycle, we could actually, well, no, that would have,
Can't give it.
no, that would have been today.
If the motion passes, I'll work with finance and make it happen.
Okay. We could probably make that happen. Anything on mine? Not seeing anything there.
So Kelly, I come up with 3280 for a down.
Yes.
Okay. I want to make sure I didn't write a number down.
Okay, those in favor of accepting the bid for the additional offices and foyer for the sum of $1,320 per the scope of work as described, signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye.
That motion carries.
and
These bids were from Christopher Tab with Shakespeare Painting LLC.
if I may, sir,
You want me to read the letter he put with it?
not unless it addresses moving any furniture or equipment or desks.
Just say thanks.
No, just kind of describes his company.
Yeah. If I may, so there's a couple of issues or circumstances that we need to be dealt with. I'm not sure they're issues. These bids did not include moving anything other than what was stated. So that means we're gonna have to make arrangements to move all of that furniture in those 2 rooms plus the lobby.
Yeah, it hadn't moved furniture as required, but she read.
Yeah, I think. we have-
It did.
Yes,
I
it
heard
did.
that, I think on both bids.
I was really tickled when I heard. it.
Yeah, move and replace furniture.
Yeah, sorry, I jumped to the carpet. The carpet's gonna be an issue when we go to, we may have to hire somebody to move that.
Oh, when they do the carpet.
Sorry, yeah, it's not a big deal to move that stuff away from the walls to get it painted. I slipped the cover on you, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I'll schedule with courts and we'll try to get it moving forward.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any additional items of business?
Yes, sir. If I may,
You have the floor.
I don't know how the bid, I'm pretty pleased with the response we got on that equipment. That's a lot of bids, really. And though I'm not complaining,
More than we've gotten in the past.
I don't know how those bids were published. Whether it was just locally or whether we reached out, I don't know that because we didn't do that, right? Road and Bridge did that on behalf of all these folks, correct?
Yes, and I believe that they were mostly, I guess I can't speak honestly
Okay.
as to how
Yeah,
that went.
and that's why I bring it up. I don't know either. I think that's something we should have a discussion about moving forward if we do some more of these sealed bid things about where we want to publicize those. And the other thing that I think we should have a conversation about is where do those bids, where do they get turned into? Sheriff didn't have an opportunity to get bids for his stuff, right? I think those bids should all come to the BOCC office. Landfill, of course, Road and Bridge was operating kind of on their behalf, right?
All the equipment was at Road and Bridge, so.
Well,
The sheriff's vehicle, I guess not the trash truck, but
Yeah.
the bulk of the equipment.
And that's who we
They hauled
talked
them in there, but they couldn't.
yeah, I'm not being critical. I'm just bringing this up for discussion. We asked Vince to do that. correct?
Yes.
I think if we're selling county assets, then those sealed bids probably should come to this office.
Talk about it when we get to it.
That's all I have.
Okay. Anything from you, sir? Okay, that'll take us to public comment. So if anybody has anything they'd like to say now, feel free to do so. Other than the one that's got her hand up.
You're not the public.
Jennifer,
I just wanted to let you know that I did find the information about Conservation Trust. We projected $10,728.29. And we received $16,234.21.
could you repeat that?
Yes, we projected.
Just the.
Oh, the actual was 16,234.21. That means we received $5,505.92 more than what we projected for the first quarter.
Thank you for finding that.
Yeah.
All right, I'm not seeing any hands up online, nothing from the room. So I will adjourn this meeting at 12:14 PM. I would like to thank everyone for participating.